Hello, everybody. We are going to try this live stream again. The internet service in Central Oregon is really crappy right now because we have the influx of everybody and their grandmother who wants to be here for the eclipse. I've got something that's making some noise, so let me turn that on or turn that off, and we will let people hop on here. I'm also going to share this over to my group page. So if anybody is on here live, please say hello. If anybody is watching this as a replay, then feel free to say hello too. So today we are going to be talking about what is keeping you from getting, or what is stopping you from getting and keeping love. Because there is a lot of misconceptions. I see a lot of shit out there that we are going to address today. Because I don't like it when I see shitty advice. And I have a fly on my nose. I'm outside because it is gorgeous out here right now. And unfortunately, apparently that means I get flies. So if anybody is hopping on here, please say hi and let me know where you are from, because that is always fun to see who all is meeting together in one space. Like I said, I'm in Central Oregon, which is the eclipse epicenter. Oregon is the first state to get the eclipse, and we also have the Central Oregon, once you get away from the coast and away from the valley, has the highest likelihood of not having crappy weather. So we have a ton of people coming in right now. But I'm excited for the eclipse. So if anybody here has seen an eclipse and wants to share their impression, feel free, because I'm super excited for that. Oh my god, this fly is going to be the death of me because it will not leave me alone. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to get started in just another probably 30 seconds or so. OMG. Alright, I guess I'm going to have to share this later because my internet is being a bitch. A bitch. It doesn't want to do what I want it to do, but that's because there's just not enough of it to go around. So let me get closed out of this. I'm going to kill that fly. I'm going to kill it. If anybody is watching this as a replay, then feel free to skip ahead just another little bit so that you do not have to watch me share this every place. But people need to see this, so I gotta share it. The other thing I am checking is that it is in fact actually working, because it appears to be a little bit delayed, but I'm hoping that is just because I have crappy internet, not because there's an actual problem with the live stream. Alrighty, let's get started. So we are going to talk about the stuff that is stopping you from getting and keeping love. And I've talked a little bit about this lately. I think I've actually had another post that was titled that same thing. But it became very clear to me again today when I saw bullshit out there that said, don't take a break from dating. Any guy would be lucky to have you. Which just concerns me. when relationship experts do not understand how humans work. If you're going to talk about relationships, you need to have an understanding of how humans process things and how they don't process things. So counseling, professional counseling hasn't been around for very long. Only the last, 30, 40, 50 years. But there's always been somebody that gave the more emotionally, the more mental side of stuff. Yes, you had doctors and, once you had medicine, medicine women, medicine men, eventually pharmacists that aided with healing physical ailments. And sometimes for, some of the medicine women, there was also that spiritual component as well. But the emotional side of things for a long, long time was dealt with the community wise old woman. And while I don't look very old, I do have gray hairs, and I have since I was 21. So I have been the wise old woman for quite some time now. That should be one of my taglines. Although if I keep adding them, my tagline thing is going to be extraordinarily long. But consider me the wise old woman for now. And let's talk about why you can't just shove stuff to the side and why relationships involve more than just your interactions with men or your interactions with other people. So here is the first thing that I believe. I believe that your relationship with men is not going to look all that different than your relationship from other people. And here's why. Because they're other people. They are humans. They do not have, they're not aliens. I mean, yes, there's the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus, which I highly recommend because it does highlight some of the differences between men and women. And so there absolutely needs to be that taken into consideration. But they do not need to be, when you interact with them in a romantic sense, it should not be any different than when you interact with them in a non-romantic sense, other than those few specific, okay, so yes, you're probably going to have sex with somebody that you may not have sex with a friend or a relative, but that comes later in the relationship. A lot of this advice is designed for those initial meetings, and initial meetings with guys shouldn't be any different than initial meetings with guys that are non-romantic. You hold yourself to the same standards. You expect them to treat you well. You don't go running after them, which you don't go running after other people too, so that's fine. But if you go into it thinking that it is totally different than any other relationship stuff, then you're going to start causing yourself problems. Because at some point, your romantic relationship and the rest of your life is going to intersect, and all of a sudden they're going to see this discrepancy between how you've been living with them and how you've been living the rest of your life. And they're going to start wondering, what in the hell is going on? There's a thing about pretending not to be on your phone, and then once you start dating, you are on your phone, and they're like, well, what the hell? You always pretended like you were never on your phone. Or the pretending to be busy. If you have not watched the Matthew Hussey video on the 4 things that turn men off, he talks about why busy is a really shitty answer, and I totally agree with him on this, that it sounds boring. You do not sound interesting when you say you're busy. You sound boring. Boring as fuck. You cannot even talk about what you're doing, so therefore you probably don't have anything to talk about. And I see that a ton, that they have to, people have to say they're busy because they're not doing anything interesting. They're sitting there on their computers, on Facebook, and if they say that, that sounds boring, so they say busy instead. Instead, get out there and live your fucking life, and then you have shit to talk about. Then you have something interesting to talk about. Then you have an interesting reason on why you didn't answer his text message or why you didn't answer his phone call rather than busy. So I want to talk about 6 major areas in relationships that need to be dealt with in order for you to be relationship ready, in order for you to get and keep that love that you so richly deserve. You absolutely deserve to have a fucking phenomenal love life. Not a nice love life. Not a good love life. Not, he treats me well. Fucking phenomenal. Like, that is your goal, right? A phenomenal relationship, one where you are extraordinarily happy most of the time. Yeah, there's going to be shit that happens. It's called real life. And if you think that real life doesn't impose on romantic relationships, you have no fucking idea what you're getting into. Because, especially with long-term relationships, you have to be in it for the long haul, which means you have to be in it for the shit. But that's not where you should be starting out with. And you should not be putting up with shitty treatment to start with in order to get to the point of, living through the shit with somebody. Things shouldn't be difficult to start with. Things shouldn't be hard. If dating is hard for you, if relationships are hard for you, if you feel like you have to jump through a bunch of fucking hoops, or you are constantly nervous or constantly anxiety ridden or don't know what to say or any of that stuff, if you're constantly questioning yourself, you're making it too difficult. Relationships should be easy at the beginning. They should be fun. You should be having fun dating. Yes, relationships, once you get into them, can be hard and will be hard. We're two totally different people trying to make something work. And people are different. There's always going to be stuff that conflicts. There's always going to be different ways of thinking about things. There's going to be miscommunications because that's the way humans work. And even in the initial stages of dating, there might be some miscommunication. But it shouldn't be difficult. It shouldn't be hard. It should not be anxiety ridden. You should not be living in a relationship or in dating where it's difficult and it's hard until you get to the point where you're actually sharing life together. Then you can get into the difficult, shitty, hard stuff. And you have the base to fix it. But when you initially start dating, it shouldn't be that difficult. It should not be anxiety ridden. So the first part of dating and relationships that are going to get you where you want to that fucking phenomenal relationship is knowing yourself. If you do not have a clue what is going on with yourself, if you do not have a clue what you want in life, not what everybody else says, if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what your preferences are, if you don't know the lifestyle that you want to live, and I don't mean like high society on a hill lifestyle, but just in general, like what are your interests? What are your passions? What are the things that you want to do in life and that you want to have the other person do with you? What are the things that you want the other person to embody? And I don't mean, tall, dark, and handsome. I mean like what characteristics, what qualities, what things do you want him to, what qualities, honesty, sense of humor, that's a big one for a lot of women. Do you want him to be interested in sports? Do you want him to be interested in the outdoors? Do you want him to be interested in fine dining? Do you want him to be interested in these kind of things that coincide with the lifestyle that you are already living? I don't mean changing yourself. I don't mean changing him. I mean finding somebody that fits in with your current lifestyle, the lifestyle that you want to live. Because if you try and find somebody that doesn't fit in with your lifestyle, but he's cute, or he has some characteristics that aren't that great, but he takes you to nice restaurants, you're going to have trouble. You're going to find conflict. You're going to find stuff right off the get-go that doesn't match up with you. And if you try and change him into being somebody that you want him to be, yes, he's probably not always going to want to do the things that you want to do, and you're not always going to want to do the things he wants to do. So there's going to be some compromise, but that should be part of the time. You shouldn't be trying to convince him that going to the opera is fun. Now, he'll probably take you because he wants to make you happy. And if he knows that you love the opera, then there should be some effort at some point in the relationship made to get you there. But don't try and convince him that he is, going to love the opera if he's not going to love it. You have to accept the fact that he doesn't really enjoy it, but he's willing to do it because he likes you or because he loves you. So getting really super, super, super fucking clear on what you want is part of how you attract that person in that loves you and is in the same space as you are. So one of the things that I have talked about before is that I needed a guy who was outdoorsy. In fact, I had a boyfriend several years ago, several years before I started dating my current boyfriend, who broke up with me because I was too outdoorsy. He apparently thought he liked the outdoors until he started dating me. So fast forward a couple years, I had been talking with a guy, we had gone on a date, and I found out he didn't even own a jacket he could get dirty. And that was not going to work for me. For me, that was a personal deal breaker because he didn't fit in with the life that I wanted, the life that I had created. I didn't try and convince him that he should own a jacket. I didn't tell him that there was anything wrong with him not owning a jacket. He could get dirty. I just decided it was not a compatibility thing because that is a huge, huge part of my lifestyle. And that's the third thing I see people doing is people insulting other people because they are not meeting their needs. So that they're lazy. Lazy is a big one I see in Facebook groups. That a guy is lazy because he didn't do what you wanted him to do. He's not lazy. He's just not what you're looking for. There's nothing wrong with a guy who wants something totally different than you are, or different than you do. There's nothing wrong with a guy who wants spontaneous dates when you want, a few days notice. There's nothing wrong with a guy that wants to do picnic dates when you want to do fine dining. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with you because you want to do fine dining or have advance notice. It's just an incompatible issue. And that's not a problem. There are a billion people on this planet. Somebody will be similar enough to you that it works for you. But stop insulting people. Stop telling people, even mentally, even if you don't write to them and be like, you're a lazy motherfucker. Even if you don't write to them, you're putting that energy out. You are putting that energy out that says there's something wrong with you because you don't do what I want you to do. And if you're not even telling guys what you want, then certainly do not go insulting them. That's just stupid. Like, I'm just going to be super blatantly honest. I see this a lot where a girl has it in her head that this is the way dating should go, and then a guy doesn't do it. And she's in the Facebook groups, like, blasting him for being a fucking idiot, lazy, no good, worthless. I've seen all sorts of names, guys called all sorts of names. When he asked her what she wanted to do, she left it up to him to choose. And then he chose, and then she didn't like it, and then she insults him. Like I said, most of the time not to his face, but still, that's just bullshit. So, be clear on what you want. If you want the guy to take the lead, then you got to accept whatever he did, whatever he does as what he wants to do. If you tell him that whatever he wants to do is fine, then you better be okay with whatever he wants. Now, the better way to phrase that is, well, what kind of things were you thinking of? And then if he doesn't do what it is, don't be a bitch about it. Either say that's not my thing or, whatever. But the better thing is just to throw a couple ideas out there, especially if he's brand new. The guy doesn't know what you like. And I hate to break it to you, but not all women are the same. He has already come across hundreds of women with a million different tastes, because let's face it, we can be super fickle. One day we want this, the other day we want this. And so he's, even in dating one girl, he's seen her like, 5 or 6 different things. And then he dates another girl and she likes a totally, like, maybe one overlaps. So now there's this like possibility of 12 different things that she could like. And then he dates a third girl and she's got, 6 other interests, only a couple of which overlap. And then all of a sudden he's trying to decide what women want, because we don't all want the same thing. So when he asks you, what are you interested in? What would you like to do? It's not because he's being lazy. It's because he wants to know where you fall into this realm, into this interest. What can he do to make you happy? And if you don't tell him, if you push it back on him, then don't be unhappy if you don't like what he chooses. So getting really super clear on what you want and what you're interested in is going to help you get what you want, and it's going to help him make you happy. That's what most guys want. The good guys, the really genuinely good guys, want to make you happy. But they don't know exactly what that looks like. So here's another example. So we have all heard that men love to be babied when they're sick, right? Take care of them. It's like the whole man flu shit. That's not how I grew up, because my dad hates it when you even acknowledge that he is sick. He doesn't even want you to look at him when he's sick. So I grew up somewhat understanding. In fact, I grew up thinking that men don't want to be taken care of when they're sick, because my dad was perfectly capable of taking care of himself. And it wasn't until I was, early 20s, I read a book where they talked about, men wanting to be pampered or wanting to be taken care of when they were sick, because that was back in the day before making fun of men was as big of a thing on commercials. So the whole like man flu thing hadn't really popped up in any commercial I had watched. And so it was kind of enlightening to me to know that some men do like to be taken care of. Well, guess what? The guys out there grew up watching their mothers, their sisters interact in certain ways that are probably different than how you enjoy everything. So he's going off of this like 18 years of conditioning of what the women in his life want. And if he isn't aware that there are other things, it may not even occur to him. So if his mother was anything like mine, where she didn't need to be taken care of when she was sick, because my mom doesn't do the whole like, you know, take care of me stuff either. So if he grew up with that, he may not think about the fact that when you're sick, you want to be taken care of. And I'm kind of like on the fence, and I've been super, super clear. Hey, Mar, how are you? Super glad that you can join us. For me, I know when I'm super, super sick, when I've got a like shitty headache, like can't hardly move, then yeah, I want somebody to take care of me a little bit. But not a whole lot. Like I don't want somebody to be over in my face. And my boyfriend's actually really similar where, you know, I don't need to hover on anything because he doesn't do the whole man flu where he like whines and bitches and moans. So right there's a really good example about how men are different. My boyfriend is different than my dad. My boyfriend and my dad are different than the typical like man flu, you know, thing. So you just have to understand that men are different from each other. And because men are different from each other, they don't always have the same experiences. They don't always understand the same things that you expect them to understand because it hasn't been their experience. And let's face it, not all men and not all women are very good at getting in touch with what is out there, what the realm of possibilities is. A lot of us just focus on what we see. So what we see is what we expect from everybody. And if your guy or your potential guy, or, you know, I've seen some guys pop on here. So if your future woman or if your wife is different than your previous, you know, than your mom, and you're not aware of those things, then that can cause some issues too. So that is why for us women, that is why getting super fucking clear on what we want and being able to vocalize it, being able to open our fucking mouths and say something about it is what is going to get you what you want. You want a guy to take care of you when you're sick? Ask him. You don't have to beg him. Please do not beg him. I talked to somebody one time who told me that she was sick and she was begging her guy to come over and he wouldn't. And I was like, well, that's not a good guy to be in a relationship with. You should not have to beg somebody to do what you want. But asking, if he doesn't know, asking something. If he doesn't know that you prefer, you know, Saturday dates. If he doesn't know that you absolutely hate sushi. If he does not know that your favorite sports team is whoever. If he doesn't know that you hate sports. Although that one he might guess. But again, if a man grew up in a household where women loved football and, you know, every woman in his family's got all the jerseys and they're at every game, he's going to potentially expect that in a lot of women. So just understand that guys have this really wide range of experiences. And if you do not communicate what your preferences are, he is likely going to default to what other people have told him. There is no way, and I told this to one of my private clients this morning, there is no way that he can know what your preference is on, you know, what we were talking about, but in general on anything, if you do not tell him. I'm not telling you to tell him what to do. I'm not telling you, take me to an Italian restaurant. Like, I'm not telling you to dictate what he does or, you know, try and be his mom. But if you tell him that you love Italian, there it is. That's all you have to say. You know, when he asks what your favorite food is, man, I really love Italian and pizza, and I love, you know, all those waterfront restaurants. It totally gives him options to please you without telling him what to do. And he may not be able to get, you know, any one of those on that first date, but he should be working towards that. He may not be able to get it for that first date, but you should start seeing him really working on pleasing you by following what your preferences are. But you have to know what they are, and you have to be able to tell him. Excuse me. So the second thing we're going to talk about on why you know, what is stopping you from getting and keeping love, and this is a huge, huge one, especially for you folks that are single, or for you people who are in unhappy relationships, is limiting beliefs. So this is one of the ways that I am hugely, hey, look, there's a chicken. I have a chicken in the background. Hi, chick. Hugely different from other relationship coaches, and that I believe in this power of the mind, and that your mind is something you have to take care of. So when I talk about self-care, I'm not talking about a fucking manicure. I'm not talking about going and getting your hair straightened. I am talking about getting your shit figured out in here. Why? Because your mind is what drives everything. And if you do not have a healthy mind, you're going to sabotage your relationships. You're just going to. In fact, for a lot of you that are single, this is your problem, is that you are sabotaging your relationships because of these limiting beliefs. One, we've already talked about, the limiting beliefs that men can read your mind, or that men know what you want, or that you shouldn't ever have to tell a man what you want. That's a huge ass limiting belief. That is keeping you from getting what you want. I'm going to take a sip of water while you think about that for a sec. So limiting beliefs aren't just dating related though. I mean, they can be everything from, I'm just not worthy because of shit that we were told in our childhood or in previous relationships. It can be that dating is hard. We've talked about that limiting belief, that one can hold you back. If you think that dating is hard, then you're never going to try and make it easy, or you're never going to recognize that it should be easy. If you think that you have to wear high heels and short skirt in order to attract a man's attention, that's a limiting belief. Because guess what? People do it every day, especially in the religious community. Women attract men every day without dressing in that manner. At the same token, if you feel like you need to desperately chase after a guy in order for him to see or recognize that you are there, that's another limiting belief. And that is one that is keeping you from finding a man that's actually attracted to you by allowing him that space to pursue you. Limiting beliefs are huge, they are wide, and they are deep. Some of them date back to your childhood, which makes them really difficult to go through. And if you do not recognize that you have these, if you insist that you don't have them, you're never going to fix them. So one of my badass babe mantras is that, if you do not acknowledge your shit, you will never take care of it. And the third part of that is that acknowledging that you have shit you need to take care of is not dwelling in the negative, it's dealing with the negative. And dealing means action. So one of the things with your limiting beliefs, whatever they are, and I'm going to give you just a quick rundown on a practice that I have to help you identify some of your limiting beliefs, and basically you can take this and then start exploring. So we're going to go really quickly through this. If you haven't already grabbed a pen and paper or something to write down with, I suggest you do, so that you can just write down these 4 steps really quick. But the first one is to identify your limiting beliefs. So anything that you feel is holding you back. So if you feel like relationships need to be difficult, if you feel like, what's another common? Oh, so here's a super fucking common one for women. I can't get a quality man if I'm overweight. Okay, we all know that's not true when we look around us. So here's how I want you to help decide if it's a limiting belief. So take something that you think, like, I can't get a man if I'm overweight. Now look around at reality. Look around at your friends and family. Look around at your coworkers. Look around at celebrities. And look to see if you're ignoring all the times when overweight women find true love. They're happy, they're healthy, they've got a man who loves them, and you're just discounting that because it doesn't fit in with your belief. You're ignoring it because it doesn't fit in with your belief. So take something that you think about relationships and then see if you can find examples of where that's not true. Another good one is just do a basic Google search. Okay, so I think that relationships are difficult. Should relationships be difficult? And then you're going to get a whole list of things that say relationships shouldn't be difficult. That yes, once you get into marriage and long-term things, that there are going to be rough patches and there are going to be difficult times, but the relationship overall shouldn't be difficult. If a limiting belief you have is that, men should be able to read my minds. I shouldn't have to tell a man what I want for him to do. Stick it in the fucking Google bar. Can men read my mind? Should men know what I'm thinking? Should I have to tell a man what I want? And the answer is going to be, no, they can't read minds. No, they're not going to know what you want. And yes, you have to tell them what you want. So that's a good place to start, is just Google it. Like I said, look around in real life, especially if you're looking for more I really encourage you guys to look for awesome, great examples of good relationships in your life, and to not necessarily model your life directly off of them, because they're going to be two separate human beings with their own way of doing things, and that may or may not work for you. But start looking for those positive examples. Start looking for those things that confirm what you want in life. Oh, so this is one of the things I forgot to talk about with number 1, is that you are not fucking dreaming big enough. So we limit ourselves, and this kind of also directly ties into limiting beliefs, that when you limit yourself, you are not dreaming big. You are not allowing yourself to dream of that amazing, awesome, fantastic, fucking phenomenal relationship that you think you can't have it. You think it's not possible. You think you can't have it until you do X, Y, Z. You know, you think you can't have it until you lose weight, or you think you can't have it until you get that new job, or you think you can't have it until you move to a different city, or you think you can't have it because of whatever. You're not dreaming big enough. You've got to allow yourself to dream. And I'll give you an exercise on that in a second. Back to our limiting beliefs. So the first thing is to identify a limiting belief. The second thing is to identify the root cause. And this is where a lot of people skip this step, and then they can't get the next 2 steps finished because they don't understand where their limiting belief comes from. A lot of us, it's childhood. It's something we grew up either hearing from our family, from our peers. Obviously, you know, kids give us shitty information. Let's just be honest. We got a lot of bad information from our classmates, from the society that was created within the school, and then from society in general. So Hollywood, when you're talking about, you know, the ideal look being that skinny thing, Hollywood obviously is a place where we get that from. Advertising, TV, your exes gave you shitty advice. They gave you bad information about you. We do it. I mean, even those of us who don't mean to do it, sometimes we give people bad information about themselves. So look at all the places that you might have gotten these limiting beliefs from, and then identify where that particular limiting belief. So if we're dealing with the limiting belief of you need to lose weight before you can find a good guy. So Hollywood, your ex, your parents, maybe if they, gave you crap about your weight. Your peers, obviously growing up, there was, people just make fun of fat people, and it does not make any sense to me. But it's because they need to feel better about themselves, really is where that comes from. So look at all those places where you were told that being overweight meant that you were less valuable, essentially. So then the third thing is, once you've identified what the limiting belief is and where it came from, look at what the truth is. And this is going back to number 1, when you were deciding what that limiting belief was, you were doing the Google research, you were looking at, reality. So look at reality. What does reality tell you about whether overweight women can find love? Reality says, hell yes, that her value is not based on her weight. It's not based on the number on the scale. Her value is based in here. She is a valuable woman, and if she understands that, she has attracted in a quality, high-class guy. So look at those kind of things. Figure out what the truth actually is. What is the truth? And then from that truth, what are your actions? So if your belief was that you had to be, skinny in order to find a guy, and then your root cause was Hollywood and your peers and your parents and your ex, and then the truth is women of any weight can attract a quality man if she understands that she is valuable and if she lives in that value. And that we see it all the time, that you look around you and you see coworkers who are overweight and madly in love with their spouse, and their spouse is madly in love with them. You see it in, again, Google results. Melissa McCarthy, I love her relationship story with her husband. They are so cute together. So what is your action? Well, your action is that you stop letting that hold you back. Your action is that you step forward in confidence. Your action is that you understand that you are valuable and you don't let people treat you like shit because of your weight. Your action is that you smile at that guy because he's cute and he's good looking. Your action is you wear that outfit that you love and you go out and you have a fantastic Friday evening with your friends. There's so many actions, and I'm giving you a really kind of common example, but I don't want to limit you guys. There are so many action steps out there that are specific to you that please keep thinking. Go beyond what I said. So there's your 4 like really quick things on how to deal with a limiting belief. That I just really, really hope you guys understand how freeing it can be to deal with those limiting beliefs, to get rid of them, how happy it will make you, how much joy you will bring into your life, and how much those limiting beliefs are holding you back from living, from dreaming, from getting out there with people, from meeting people. So then the little exercise I want you guys to do on dreaming fucking bigger is that I want you guys to sit down, and first of all, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to just think about what your ideal love life would look like. Not changing your spouse. If you are already in a relationship, do not think about changing your significant other. That is not the point of this. The point of this is, what do you want your life to look like? What do you want your interactions to look like? What is your ideal, your life? Just what does it look like? How do you interact with people? How do you, what kind of trips do you take? What kind of date activities do you do? What type of place do you live in? Especially if you're wanting to get married or already with somebody, but you're not quite in the ideal situation. What does your dream house look like? And it doesn't have to be a mansion. This is the problem. So many times we are fed other people's dreams, and we think we have to have that dream when we really don't want it. So if your dream is a little cabin out in the woods, a one room or 1 bedroom, 1 bath little cabin out in the woods where you and your loved one can just enjoy nature and go hiking and go hunting and go fishing and go out on the lake. If that's your dream, then dream it. It doesn't matter that it's not everybody else's, mansion up on a hill. Whatever it is, let yourself dream it. And then write it down. Write down what you want your life to look like. Write down what you want your interactions to look like. Write down what you want your house to look like. Write down what you want that ideal life with that ideal person to look like. Now, don't put stupid stuff like it'll be perfect and we'll never fight, unless you're a person who has already figured out how to never fight. My parents have never had a fight because my dad doesn't fight. So that is realistic for him, but it is not realistic for most of us. Do not write down that they are always going to do what you want them to do, or that they are always going to, be up for exactly what you want to do. Don't set yourself up for failure by dreaming slightly outside of reality. Acknowledge that people are human, but write down that you guys are always able to work through any problems that come up, that you are always willing to, tackle life together even when hard stuff comes up. Write down that kind of stuff. Not that life will be perfect, not that your significant other will be perfect. Write down that you will embrace their flaws and that they will embrace yours. Write down that you will actively work together to reduce the amount of friction caused by flaws. Those kind of things. Not life is perfect, we never fight, she always does what I want her to do, that kind of, shit. Or for a female, that he always reads my mind and he always, takes me on the perfect date without me having to say anything. If he can do that, I'd be scared. So then the third thing that we are going to talk about as far as this is, for us females, is understanding men. This is where a lot of people, like a lot of relationship advice starts, but barely skims the top and lumps all guys together and then moves on. We're not going to do that because that's not fair to the guys. That is not fair to men to lump them all together and say that they all have to act the same way or else they're wrong. That's stupid. So Men are different. Men are different from us. Men are different from each other. Let's start there. We've already talked a little bit about this in like just the basic example of, you know, the differences between the way my dad deals with being sick, the way my boyfriend deals with being sick, and the man flu. But it goes for everything. Their ideal date, their ideal job, their ideal partner, what they want to do on Friday night, what they want to do on Sunday morning, and I don't mean sex, but even that. One of the biggest misconceptions, or one of the biggest ways that all men are lumped together is that they are all only after sex. Go in to any women's relationship advice forum, any women's group where they're being realistic and where they're actually talking about life and love. You know, I know Yahoo chat thingies aren't really a thing anymore, but go into any women's relationship forum and you will find women bitching about the fact that their guy does not want sex as much as they want sex. So even that misconception or even that stereotype isn't true. Do not lump men together. Just don't. If you do, you will never find a guy that fits exactly what you're looking for because somehow you've pieced together this man based on something that probably is not based on reality. So first off, we're going to unlump men. We are not going to put them all in a category just because they're men. What we are going to do is we are going to look at the fact that they are all individuals. They all have their own preferences. They all have their own communication styles, and that what you want to focus on is whether he is right for you. Not whether he is right. This isn't like a right or wrong issue. It's just whether he is right for you. And if he's not, let him go. Don't do the insulting thing. We already talked about that. Just let him go gracefully. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with him. Part of the reason that you feel so shitty about yourself is that you have had incompatibility issues with other people, whether it's other men or friends, and they've told you that there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you because you don't want to do this. There's something wrong with you because you like to do X. I'm an introvert. Huge introvert. Do you know how many people told me that it was weird that I like to do stuff by myself? I'm like, hello, you obviously don't understand introverts. And obviously those people were extroverts. Because it wasn't right for them, they assumed it was wrong. So don't do that. Acknowledge that these people are individuals, that they have the right to like what they like, unless we're talking about illegal stuff. I am not saying that, you know, child pornography and stuff like that is right. But when it just comes to preferences, okay, so he prefers to, do outdoor dates, and you prefer to go to a restaurant. It's just different. It's not wrong. It's just different. And that his ideal person is going to be somebody more like me that enjoys the outdoors. We did not do dinner and a movie for like 3 months. I think it was 3 months before he was like, well, we should do dinner and a movie. And I was like, fine. I guess that's what normal people do. They were all outdoor dates. We went hiking. We went to the coast. We went and saw a concert. We went to the fair, which that was, he knows now that I love the fair because that was, I think, our 4th or 5th date. I can't remember now. Where I said that, hey, I wanted to go to the fair. And so last year we weren't able to go, but that's, it's on his list of things he knows that I love. So we did all these outdoor dates before we ever, we went into a fast food restaurant and got food. And I think we sat down at a couple restaurants and ate as part of something else. But that was just because we needed food, because I need to eat, not because that was like the actual date. So understand that just because somebody doesn't like what you like, or you don't want to do what they don't want to do, or what they want to do, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with either one of you. It's just different. So let's really work on eliminating wrong and bad out of our vocabulary when talking about the other sex. Or even talking about our friends. How many times have you thought about your friend? Oh my God, I can't believe that she does that. When it's just a preference thing. And if you don't like it, if it's that big of a deal, if it's an honest to goodness deal breaker for you, then it's a deal breaker for you. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. So when you look at men, and for you guys that have been watching, when you look at when you look at women, don't label them as wrong or bad for wanting what they want. Just acknowledge that it's different than what you want. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You are going to find lots of people in life that have different things that they like, and sometimes that's awesome. I mean, there have been so many new things that I have done since I started dating my boyfriend because he likes something different. And no, like, I haven't actually gone hunting with him because I don't hunt and I don't want to see dead animals. But the fact that he wants to go hunting, that's fine. But he's taken me on a lot of like outdoor places where he has gone hunting before, and I really enjoy that. So again, it's not that his hunting is bad, it's just different and it's not something I want to do. Now, for you folks out there who are like anti-hunting, I do not recommend you date a hunter, but don't label them as bad. And here's something else. Here's a little tip for you guys on guys, because I see a lot of women bitch about this. The reason the guys put their fish in their damn online profiles is that is a primal thing for them. They are able to provide by providing food, and they want to show people they're proud of it. They're proud of what they have done. And yes, you might not want to see their dead fish, but just understand it's because they are proud of what they have accomplished. They are proud of what they have hunted for. And that, we tend to do the same thing because women are gatherers. We tend to show it off in different ways. We show off the jewelry we have gathered. We show off the friends we have gathered. We show off what we have gathered because that's our instinct. And that is what, oh, look, there's a chicken again. That is what we as women tend to do. Now, not that there are not women that, don't love hunting, because there definitely are. In fact, my mom's coworker found a great guy that enjoys hunting, and that's something that they can do together, which is great. But stop judging people. Like, really, that's what it all comes down to. Stop judging people for being different than what you are or than what you want. And understand that people are going to be different, and do not lump them all together. If you think that all men are going to do something, if you think that all men like something, if you think that all men know something, you're going to be wrong. It's just not possible. So the fourth thing we're going to look at is dating, relationships, engagement, marriage, long-term partnership. What do you want from those stages in life? Too often, we are fed shit from other people that says, here's what you need. Here's what you have to have. Here's what you should want. If you don't want this, there's something wrong with you. And we start to believe it. So back to the limiting beliefs. And do you guys see how all of this is connected? That is part of what blows my mind about dating experts or relationship experts that focus on one little thing and then decide that your relationship life should be phenomenal because you focused on one little thing, when all of this stuff is connected. So what you want in a dating relationship might be different than what somebody else wants in a dating relationship. There are people out there who casually date until they find somebody they're serious about, and they may date multiple people at the same time. There are some people who prefer to only date one person at a time, but don't get serious until they find the right person. There are people who rush right into fucking relationships because they have no fucking clue what they want, and they're just desperate for somebody. Don't go for that. There are people who will not be exclusive with somebody until they've been proposed to, because they do not want to limit themselves to somebody that's not going to do a long-term commitment. That's not something I agree with, but if that's your honest to goodness belief in here, not because you read it somewhere else, then that's fine. But you need to get, again, fucking clear on what you want for dating, what you want for a relationship. How long do you date before you need it to become a relationship? How long do you feel like you need to get to know somebody before you decide whether they're what you want? And please focus more on that than the other way. So many times I see women worrying about, well, why is he not asking me to be his girlfriend? I'm like, well, is he what you want in a guy? Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I want to be somebody's girl. I don't want to waste time on him. And they totally avoid the question. That's the best thing. I've asked so many women, is he what you want in a boyfriend? And they totally dodge it. They totally make it all about him not asking. You need to get, again, back to what you want. You need to get fucking clear on what you want so that you know when it's been long enough that you feel like it should be moving on to the next stage for you. Now, there are times when you just know. My sister-in-law talks about just knowing that Chad was right for her. And that is the way it goes sometimes, but that's not the way it goes all the time. There are other times where it just takes a little bit longer before you are convinced that you're ready to move on to the next stage with somebody. Get clear on where you're at on that. Get clear on how you want to date, whether you want to date multiple people, whether you want to date just one person. Get clear on how you want to do that. And then ignore the rest of the people who tell you you're wrong. Because both camps are really, really well populated. And you're going to get people from either side, telling you that you're not doing it right. Telling you that you should be dating more than one person so that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And if that is how you truly feel, then great. But don't feel like you have to do it just because somebody else tells you have to. Which on that note, and I usually say this way sooner in my trainings, if I ever tell you something that you don't agree with, do not do it. Like, you are in charge of your life. I might have a shit ton of knowledge, but if it doesn't work for you, don't do it. Do not feel like you need to do anything I tell you to do just because I say to do it. In fact, don't do it. If the only reason you're doing it is because Janine said so, that's a shitty reason. I am giving you guys information. I am giving you advice. I am giving you something to think about, but you need to decide if it's right for you. And that goes for any relationship expert. I don't care if they have been in business for 50 years. If they tell you something that you do not agree with, you do not have to do it because you are in charge of your life. You. So get clear on what you want in a relationship. Get clear on how long you want it to be exclusive, but not a lifelong commitment. Before you move on to the next level, get clear on what kind of long-term commitment you want. Do you want marriage? Are you somebody who doesn't want marriage? You just want the long-term commitment. Are you somebody who doesn't even want a long-term commitment, that you really are just, you see yourself being with somebody and then a few years later moving on? That is up to you. There is no right or wrong on that, as long as you're fucking clear on it and as long as you're clear with the people that you date. So here's the other thing I see a lot of people doing, is that they refuse to talk about marriage. They want marriage. They refuse to talk about it. Anytime it comes up, they change the subject, and then they don't understand why 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they find out this guy really doesn't ever see himself getting married. Well, that's a conversation that should have happened a way long time ago. I'm not saying that's a first date conversation, although it can be. It was for us, for me and my boyfriend. It was something he brought up on the very first date, and I was really appreciative of the fact that it was out there in the open, that he did not see himself getting married again. That he did not see himself having any more kids. He already had kids. Okay, now we can talk about it because it's out there. But don't wait for the other person to talk about it if it's important to you. If you're on the fence, if you don't know whether you want marriage or whether you're okay with long-term commitment, if you're waiting, for me, I was pretty sure I didn't want kids, but I was waiting to decide until I found out who I was going to be spending the rest of my life with, because I knew that could change stuff. I was pretty sure I didn't want kids, but you never know. I could have met somebody where I really just felt that was right. I met the guy, it still didn't feel right, which was fine because he doesn't want kids either. Do you know how many people I've had tell me that that's wrong? Do you know how many people I have had tell me that I am settling for less, that I don't value myself because I don't want to get married, because we're not getting married and we're not having kids? It's actually a little bit ridiculous. Do not impose your beliefs on somebody else, and do not let somebody else's beliefs be imposed on you. Get clear on what you want. Get clear on what long-term relationship looks like for you. Get clear on whether you want a long-term relationship. Get clear on what dating looks like. Get clear on what relationship looks like. Get clear. And it doesn't need to be like a specific date. Like if something has not happened by 1 year and 1 day, that you're out of there. But know where your boundaries are. Know where those... So here's something I'm surprised I haven't mentioned this. Because the other thing I see in dating advice is, black and white, that if it's not this, if it's this. And I have kind of talked about it's not right or wrong. It's just wrong for you or wrong for them. It's called the fucking middle ground, and it's where life is lived healthily. So do not decide that, okay, if he hasn't asked you to be his girlfriend by a month, by 31 days exactly, or 4 weeks exactly, that it's not right for you. Give yourself these, okay, you're going to reevaluate it a month. You're going to reevaluate it 2 months. Is this going where I want it to go? Is this feeling like I want it to feel? Give yourself dates to check in, but don't give yourself drop dead dates. Tell yourself to check in after a year. Is this progressing where you want it to progress? So give yourself those dates, but don't make them like written in stone. If it gets to be 366 days or 365 days, or 67 days on a leap year, then you're going to be done with it. And I just got warned that I'm at the end of my time limit, so I'm going to have to talk really, really fast. So figure out where you want. Step number 5 is figuring out your shit, and what I call badass babe style. You know what you need to figure out. You know what is holding you back, and you know if you need to get it taken care of. If it is something that you need professional help with, do it. I am a big, big fan of professional counseling, professional therapy, because sometimes we need more than we can give to ourselves. Sometimes we cut ourselves and we can stick a fucking Band-Aid on it at home. Sometimes we slice through our arm and we need a doctor to fix it for us. There's no difference with emotional stuff. If you need help processing things emotionally, then get the help. Do not deny yourself because you think you shouldn't need it. I have 4 minutes. I better talk fucking fast. Okay. So that's really where I want you guys to really take a look at. Another limiting belief is that you don't need help up here. Well, you know what? If you need help for anything else, if you are willing to go have somebody else do your hair for you, you should be able to be willing to have somebody else help you get your mental shit figured out. So if you need counseling, go do it. It was one of the best things I ever did. And then number 6 is what I consider like figuring out tricky situations. And this is really going back to knowing how you process, knowing how you want to deal with stuff, because for some things are going to be trickier for you than others. For anybody who deals with emotional struggles, I have depression. I had to decide when I brought that up. I had to decide when I talked about it. If you have kids, you have to decide when you talk about it. If you've got a terminal illness like cancer, or have had cancer, and you need to decide when you're going to talk about it. Don't let anybody else. There's you can go on the internet and you can look and you will find every range of advice. You have to decide what works for you. So I'm coming to the end of my training because it's about to cut me off. If you want more help dealing with any of this stuff, I have a new program coming out next week called Badass Babes Relationship University. We get started on Monday, but there is a pre-sale going on right now. You can save $200 off, over $200 off of it, and get another one of my other courses for free. So you will save $400 just by signing up today. Plus, you get all the other amazing bonuses. If you were one of the first 10 people to sign up, you get a third course for free, which is another $200 value. And all of my bonuses in total will save you over $1,300 if you sign up today. So I will drop the link in the bottom of this. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm sorry I didn't get to go into depth really on those last ones because I don't think I've ever talked for this long. I didn't know it was going to cut me off. But it's probably better. Somebody needs to cut me off. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you guys so much for joining me. And if you are interested in checking out Badass Babe Relationship University, the link will be posted in here in just a few minutes. So definitely grab that. And thank you so much for joining me. If you have any comments, any questions, feel free to private message me or post a comment on here or post a comment on my page. I'd love to help you out with that. Anything that you are struggling with. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And it's almost eclipse day. So if you're in the path of totality like I am, enjoy that. And make sure you got lots of food, water, and gas because everything is going to run out. I've got less than a minute left. So I will say goodbye. See you guys later. And thank you so much for joining me. This is Janine signing out.